What happens when you spend years hoping, waiting, wondering if your body will ever give you what your heart desperately wants? Today's guest, Renea Linsom, knows that feeling intimately. Month after month of hope, month after month of what she calls betrayal. That moment when your period arrives and shatters another dream. But here's what makes Renee's story different. She found her voice in the waiting. She discovered that being weird, quirky, and unapologetically herself wasn't something to hide. It was her greatest gift. Whether you're navigating your own fertility journey, supporting someone who is, or simply know what it feels like to wait for something that seems to come so easily to everyone else, this conversation is for you. Renee reminds us that hope isn't about forcing timelines or fixing ourselves. It's about creating space for both the grief and the gratitude to coexist. So grab your favorite comfort item, settle in, and let's have the conversation that should have been happening all along. Welcome to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. I am your host, Shana Southern. I am an angel mum, a rainbow mum, a pregnancy loss practitioner, and trauma-informed coach. I created the Institute of Healing Through Pregnancy Loss out of my own experience with loss in the hopes to provide understanding and healing, educating people on pregnancy loss, and creating more women or men in trained support roles. In this podcast, I hope to shed light on what I wish I knew in relation to pregnancy loss, opening up the conversation, breaking the stigma, and bringing real life stories plus guest experts. Thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the podcast, the intersection of pregnancy loss, fertility, trauma, and purpose, having the conversations that should have been happening all along. Today, I have with me Renea Linsom. Renee is a SEO blog writer. She uses her words to not only cultivate what is possible, but uses her words to inspire and build up. Renee is working on an ode to her mother, but has co-authored My Pain is for Purpose. Thank you for joining us, Renee.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. So, would you like to share your story with the listeners? Share as much or as little as you want. Yeah, and to where, I guess, how you started also using your voice to help others.
I would say it was a crisp September day, but no, it was not. It was actually more of a chilly March day. And I knew that one day I wanted to write a book. And I said, if you want to write a book, people need to know who you are. And I said, I need to start a blog. And my fiance at the time, I said, I think I want to start a blog. And he said, you should do it. You should definitely do it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And so no research, no nothing. I just decided I was gonna get a WordPress. And I started my blogging journey, not knowing that it was actually gonna feed into me being a writer, which was something I always wanted to do. But I said, I'll do that one day when I retire and all that. But once I started and I took the business as being a writer, and I said, okay, there are people that out there that probably do not like to write, that probably that don't want anything to do with it, but they have a story. And I want to help them to tell what that story is. So I started being a ghostwriter at first. Before I started doing the SEO blog writing, I was like, I'm just going to be a ghostwriter. I'm just going to do that. But in finding, when you try to help other people find their voice, it's also in writing and me writing for myself that I learned even more of my own. And so I was like, boy, I have a lot to say in my personal blogs, and to be like, and I felt so great, so worthy when I got that first person that followed me. And I was like, oh, okay, I think I'm on to something here. And everything snowballed. But I started to really find out even more of who Renee is. And there were certain parts of me that I had shut away from the world, and I didn't want to do that anymore. That there was parts of me that needed to be out there because there were others that felt the same way as me and maybe didn't were like, I'm just by myself. I'm not gonna worry about it. But I'm here. So we're not by ourselves. And writing is so cathartic. It's to me, it's breath to life because you can really say something that will really resonate with someone. And they may forget, I have forgotten about some authors that I have read, but if someone says, Renee, have you read a certain book? I may have forgotten who the author is, but I'll be like, oh, yes. And I remembered how it made me feel. I remembered how it affected my life. And that is what I felt like, wow, my words could do that. It could be a blessing to somebody. And it became more of a rush because you can be like, wow, and you just want to help more people. And I am a helper to my heart. I love to help others because somebody helped me. So I want to pay it forward. But in the process of being a writer, in the process of everything that life was throwing at me, I just learned to just to be content with just being myself. And yeah, that's definitely what my writing journey has brought out of me. It's just being like, okay, I'm weird. I am very weird. If you ever get a chance to get to know me, you'll say, Renee, she is weird. I am. And it's a gift. And I love being weird. And my writing has helped me to realize that.
I love that so much. And like we said before we jumped on, this is audio essentially for the podcast. I've been like smiling and laughing along the whole time that you've just been explaining your path to becoming a writer and a blogger. And I absolutely agree with you. It, for me, I didn't put anything essentially out there that was big or online for people to read at the time when I was going through my healing, but just writing in general was very cathartic and healing for me to understand what was happening, to help me process. And then, like you said, when you start to share that with the world, then others can start to say, oh, she felt that. She went through that. That was her experience too. And also the quirkiness, we can also be so caught up in the seriousness of what is going on, the challenges that we're experiencing. So to have that weirdness and quirkiness and for you to fully embrace that and for it to come through in your writing, like then we can start to loosen the reins a little bit for us too, because there is
Absolutely.
there's that little child inside of us that I'm sure is wanting to be seen in all of this too. And that was something that I embraced a lot in the sort of the my fertility journey, because it was really the friends that I had at the time started to become really toxic. And then I was like, why am I putting on this facade? Like, why am I trying to fit into these circles that just aren't serving me? Why am I not being myself? So that was like this unraveling process. And then I obviously trying to conceive and trying to fall pregnant and going through all of that sort of emotional turmoil and physical turmoil as well. I was like, why can't I be myself? Like at this time when I need to be probably the best person for me, the best version for me. And I wasn't. So that's when I started to let my hair down a little bit and really start to tap into who I was again. And this quirky, weird person started to come out. And I was like, this was what I was like when I was a child. And I was always like a square peg in a round hole. Like I never fit in. And I was like, why do I never fit in? But then as an adult, I was like, I don't want to fit in.
That's
I,
right.
I
That's
want
right.
I want to be me. I want people to see me for me and people to accept me for me. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that can come out of our healing journey is there are very few things that force you to look at yourself and force you
Mhm.
to go, who am I? What am I doing here? Am I being true to me? How do I need to navigate this? And yeah, yeah, I think there's not very many things that we go through, especially when we're navigating like infertility and loss and all of that, that really force us to, there's an option. You have a choice. You can look at yourself and you can go, okay, who am I? And am I living true to me? Or you can hide away and you can continue to ignore those parts of you that are trying to be seen, trying to come out, but we keep shutting them away because we're so used to that.
Yes. It's so powerful what you just said because sometimes it can be easy to try to hide those things and be like, nope, nope. But what's going on inside of you will always come out in some way. I've often felt my husband and I, we've been married going on be 5 years this year. And I'm like, and when we got married, I was 34. I turned 35 the next month. I went for probably the end of my 30s thinking, why am I not pregnant? Why am I not pregnant yet? What's going on? And and it was easy for me not to say anything to anyone. And I did. I locked myself away and I said, I'm just gonna work on this. I'm just gonna work on the business. But every month I felt a betrayal in my own body. And you women, we know what happens to our bodies every month. And I felt the betrayal because I had hoped that maybe this time I wouldn't have one and I'd find out. But I thought it was gonna be easy to just be like, and you hear people say, it's gonna happen, you know what I'm saying? Well, and I'm like, I'm not getting on 40. I'm getting too old. And now I turned 40. I turned 40 last year. And I said, I'm happy to be 40. I'm still alive. But what's going on? Yeah. And I suffered that alone, maybe not alone, because I think my husband was like, I thought I was pregnant. I thought I was. And then he was like, and we kind of had to grieve that a little bit. But I also had to realize when it happens, if it doesn't happen, then my prayer was already answered when I got my husband. Even though I believe that we will have kids, but I often believe that my life is beautiful, my life is full, even if we don't, even if we don't have. And so I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna enjoy being married. I was like, how about that? I'm just gonna enjoy that. I'm just gonna enjoy this space. Yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna enjoy this. We've been married. I haven't hurt him. I haven't. I wanted to sometimes because he's weird, but I haven't hurt him. And he's a good man, and he loves me, and I love him back. And so We have a lot of adventures we go on. We love to travel. And we love to cut up because that's me and him. But there's a peace that comes with just letting go and just being like, if it happens, wonderful. But if not, then my life is full. But I did go through that for a while, just being like, I just wanted to be by myself. I felt some type of way. I was like looking at people with their babies or their pregnant bellies and wanting to be like, but not yet.
Mm.
So I got to hold on to that hope. That's all I got to hold on to the hope and to enjoy where I'm at. Because I had never thought about having kids, not at all. And I'm glad I didn't because I wasn't married. And then I got married and I said, we would make a pretty cute kid. But I realized that my life is beautiful still. It still is.
It's a very hard sort of realization, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
to make.
Yes.
And you said you hit the nail on the head when you said you have to surrender and there's peace in surrendering. And it's not that you've completely given up, like you're still holding on to the hope that there's possibility. You haven't stopped trying, but also it is also that, like you said, the betrayal from your body each month, like that's real. And I think that it gets overlooked a lot when we're going
Mhm.
through the fertility journey, especially if you're going through fertility, infertility on its own, or if you've experienced infertility, you've maybe experienced loss as well, and then you're trying to conceive. Getting your period and menstruating every month is like a slap in the face. And then you just like,
Yes.
I thought I had high hopes for this month. We had fun and it didn't happen. And it is very difficult to, I guess, switch our mind around from it being a betrayal because it's what it absolutely feels like. And it can become so consuming in that. And then it becomes a very negative attachment that we have to that perfectly normal body thing that's happening. Our body doesn't see it as anything wrong. It's going through the natural processes. It's how we think about it, it's how we perceive it.
Exactly.
That was a very difficult thing for me to get my head around. How were you able to shift it from that feeling of that your body betrayed you?
It was more of a, I knew that there were different challenges that, like, that my mom had when she was, at one time when she was trying to get pregnant. But I just had to look at my life and just be like, okay, it's not necessarily a betrayal. It's my body, even though I'm in this body and all that, but it's doing what it's always done. I think it's only at this point that I'm trying to get pregnant that I would love to do that. I'm sure my body's like, I'm sure I would love to do that for you, but we just can't right now. And I'm not necessarily broken. My body isn't broken. It's just, I've heard people say, you'll get pregnant when it's time. And I've heard my mother tell me that when she wasn't trying and thought she was pregnant, she wasn't. And then when she was like, I'm not pregnant, that was the day she found out that she was. And I was like, what a coincidence, what a coinky But it's not necessarily, it's just timing. And I do believe that my faith helps a lot because I'm not going to say this is easy because it's not,
Hmm.
but my faith makes it a lot easier because I try not to put it on myself. I try to put it on my faith and just be like, okay, If I put it on me, it'll probably take me out. But if I get involved with my faith, then I believe it's gonna be okay. Yeah, so my faith, whew, I couldn't do this if I didn't have the faith.
Yeah. And I think we do need that faith, however that is for you. It doesn't have to be God or anything, but that external something that's bigger than you, because when we try to take that on for ourselves, it, yeah, so heavy. And like you said, it can absolutely take you out. We can't control everything. And that unfortunately is one thing we cannot control. And like you said, you didn't question menstruating at all until you were trying to fall pregnant. And then you're like, okay, now there's an issue. Now I'm getting my period and I want to be pregnant. And your body's just like over here going, hey, I'm just still doing my thing. I'm still going through what I'm meant to be doing. So when we can, like you said, give it over to something else, we can go, okay, I can't do this on my own. I can't keep thinking about this. I can't keep stressing about this.
Yeah.
In that action, you are surrendering what you can't control and going, yeah, I need this to be off, the weight of this to be off me, handing it over to that higher being and being able to just then refocus. And like you've said, you've refocused then on your life as it is, being happy in your marriage, being able to do the things that you love, filling it up with things that make you happy. If you're listening to this and feeling the pull to help bereaved mothers, but you're stuck wondering, what am I actually building and can I make this work? I created something for you. It's called From Loss to Legacy, the 4-week immersion. Over 4 weeks, we crystallize your calling, your story as professional foundation, your purpose that will sustain you, your specific offer with proof bereaved mothers will invest, and your 12-month roadmap forward. You'll stop circling and start building. The certification teaches how to support bereaved mothers with trauma-informed frameworks. But the immersion teaches you what you're building and whether this is your path. The next cohort starts in March. Enrollment opens in February. If you're ready to get clarity on your calling, DM me Immersion on Instagram. Don't circle for years. Get clear now.
You have to, because if you spend your life thinking about all the things that you don't have, you're not going to have time to notice the great things that you have. I feel like I think even when I started to turn 30, I was like, do I even want to get married? Do I even want to have kids? I was like, I don't know. And then after a while of just sitting with myself and just being like, you know what, I do. I'm like, I do want to one day to get married. And I was 30. And I was like, I do want to get married. And I met my husband. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I met him at 33. I was like, woo. And then when we eventually got married, I was like, wow, okay. Now I'm married. Now I wonder, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm still young. My husband was a little older, and I said, yes, look, now we can do this. But I have such a great life. I have such a great life with my husband. He is a good man, a very patient man, a very silly man. And
Aren't
I'm
they all?
very fortunate. Yes. And weird and they're like leaving messes after you just clean up the kitchen. But I always say, I always tell him, I'm gonna get you for this. I'm going to get you and I'm gonna get you. But it's in our relationship, it's just continuing to be happy. Sometimes when I get irritated, it's being irritated. It's just enjoying. People used to always ask, when are you guys gonna get married? And I would say, we'll get married when it's time. Okay. And I'm grateful. I don't necessarily hear when you guys gonna have a baby, when you guys gonna become parents. we'll become parents when it's time. All right. So you can get off my back because there's nothing I can do about it until I look up and I'm like, ah, but it'll happen when it's supposed to. I have to put my hope in that and to continue to have hope. And now, actually, I'm okay. All right. And I'm like, things are working out better for us. And I was like, okay, Lord, things are going better here. I was like, maybe, just maybe we can start thinking about having some kids now because other things are starting to line up. And I'm like, okay, could it be? Is it going to happen this year? But I'm placing my hope. But I'm not looking at the things that I don't have. I'm just grateful for the things that I do. I'm grateful.
Yeah. It can be difficult to keep hold of that gratitude when you're going through such uncertain times.
Yes.
So to be able to, you really just have that mentality of, okay, I'm focusing on what I do have, not what I don't have, because what you don't have can get very loud and like you're failing at everything. But really, in reality, you're not. Your body isn't. Your life isn't. There's so much that is going well for you and right for you. And I think also in when we start to see what's not going right, that's when our relationships can start to break down. We can start to start placing blame on people, on ourselves, and things can start to fall apart and start to unravel pretty quickly. To also be able to have a grateful heart in terms of what you have gives you the opportunity to have that good relationship still with your husband and potentially still have a good intimate life, because a lot of the time when we're stressing as females, our emotions actually affect our intimate life, our sex drive, everything. Like, so
Mhm.
if you're stressed, if you're emotional, you start to withdraw, you start to not want to have those the sex with your husband or your partner, and you start to, and then that starts to crumble as well. And then everything, it just feeds into that whole thing of everything is just going so wrong. But when we can shift and go, okay, this is what I have, this is what I'm grateful for, I'm so lucky to have what I have, it still keeps you in that really beautiful space and energy where you can keep connected to your partner, to your
Yes.
husband.
Yes. Yes. And we've always been connected. And we were, even when we were not physically able to be connected, because we were long distance for a while. But I always said, I used to say to him, we have great communication. Like we have great communication. I was like, it's only going to get better. So it's only going to get better now that we're married because we have that foundation of just, and it still is that way. I'm like, I'm feeling some type of way.
Mm.
And I'm grateful that that I have that space to be like, I was really hoping, and I've told him this at least twice. I was like, I was really hoping that I was pregnant. And he was like, and he would just be like, I know. He's like, I could tell. And I was like, yeah, I was like, I just feel like, I just really feel bad. And he would just wrap me up and I'll be allowed to feel how I'm feeling. But will also be like, okay, we can't necessarily stay here because we don't want to wallow. But it's okay for me to feel this way. So I'm really fortunate because it's when you go through things like this and you don't have the support. I don't necessarily know anyone outside of my husband and I that have ever had, it's not family, that has issues with getting pregnant. I haven't had anybody. Yeah, because I think my mom went through some things. One of my aunts went through some things, but everybody else who was just like, they got pregnant seemed like when they weren't trying to, and they just got pregnant. But I don't necessarily have any friends that were like, "Oh, we having trouble." So it's just like outside the family, I don't know, and so it would be easy to be like, I'm all alone. Nobody understands. That's why I really wanted to do this podcast because I needed to be around others that have been that understand because not everybody does. Not everybody does. Sometimes people they can get pregnant just by, what I'm saying. I've heard people that they got pregnant on their honeymoon. And I was like, wow. And sometimes I was like, boy, that would have been interesting if we would have got pregnant on a honeymoon because we enjoyed ourselves. But it's there's a bigger picture, and I have to keep that. I have to keep that hope that like it'll happen. But it's one day, one day.
Yeah.
But I just hope. One thing I say is, I'm like, Lord, let it happen. I'm 40. So let it happen while I'm still maybe in my early 40s, but I hope that I have a very long life so that I can see my kids get grown and have their own kids and stuff. I said, I hope that I'm moving real good and still able to run and races and all that stuff even when I'm 70. That's what I'm praying for at this point.
I think that'd be lovely. Yeah, even myself, it took us 5 years to fall pregnant, and like same stories as you. Like the prior to my issues, I didn't hear anyone having any fertility problems. My mom, I was one of four growing up. She said my dad just had to look at her and she'd be pregnant, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, it's easy. And then when it wasn't, I was like, okay, what's wrong with me? Why is it taking so
Yeah.
long? And yeah, it's very hard to hear that and then go, okay, why am I so different then? On paper, I was fine. I was married, I was healthy, I had a house. I was like, I'm ticking
Yes.
all of the boxes.
Come on.
What is at play here? I was in my mid 30s when I had the miscarriage, and then we had our rainbow baby. For me, I'm the same. I'm 42 now and my daughter's 7. So I was like, I don't want to, I'm not ready to go early in life. I want to be around for her, and I want to be old and be able to still do all of the things that I can for her because I am older. I never thought that I'd be in my mid 30s and struggling to fall pregnant. And then but then I felt like I was selfish because then I was like in my 20s, I just wanted to do me. I was like, I just want to go out. I want to have parties. I want to. So I felt like then
Yes.
when I decided to fall pregnant, I was like, I'm selfish because I didn't want to be pregnant in those earlier years. So then I'm getting punished now. So it's harder for me. So,
I completely, yes, yes. I knew that too, that I did not, when I was in college, I was like, I don't want to have, I was like, this is mine. One of my closest friends got pregnant with her first, and she was 22, 23. And I think I was like 25, and I was like, whoa. And now she has 3 children. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. But I always knew, I think in a way that I never wanted to be a young mother. My mom had me at 28. So a lot was like, you could say, oh, that's old. But I'm like, it's old enough because you're almost at that 30. She got married when she was 24. And so what was I doing at 24? About to graduate from college. And by the time I was 28, I was in my career. So I did not, I always knew that I wasn't going to be a extremely young parent, but I figured probably sometime in my 30s, I will probably. But now that I'm finally 40, I'm like, what the hell? I was like, okay, this definitely did not work out the way, but I don't feel bad. I love going away to college. I love those years that it was just about me.
Mm.
Where if I wanted to go to a party, I just went. I didn't have to run it through anybody. Now I have to make sure I check in with my hubs, which is fine, but it came in the season it was supposed to. I know when we have our babies, and I still believe that we'll at least have two. I'm hoping he asked for four at first, so I'm hoping for at least two at this point that will just it'll happen, and I'll be like, hey, you're here. Wonderful. But I'm glad I didn't force any of the seasons I was in. When it was just me, I was like, hey. But eventually I had to start checking in with the hubs, and then eventually my kids had to start checking in with me, and I'll be like, oh boy, how did this happen? I was just by myself like 10 years, 20 years ago. But you just enjoy where you're at. But yeah, I don't feel bad. I don't. I loved travel at the drop of a hat because I felt like it. I don't travel at the drop of a hat. Me and my husband, we have to plan, which is fun because I still like to plan. I still do. But I can't just go and be like, oh, I need to be like, oh, I got to see what's going on at home. And it's 5 o'clock. Did I make dinner?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't feel bad. You shouldn't either. There's certain things, certain lessons that you'll be able to tell your daughter, you know what I'm saying, and just be like, yeah, that was me in my 20s. And there should be a time where it should be about you. Then you get older and you be like, okay. And you get married and you change things.
Yeah.
So
It's all a learning journey, isn't it? Like we can always look back on our life and go, oh, maybe I should have done that differently. But the thing is, in that season, that was about you. That was about you having fun. That was being obsessing about all of the things that you wanted to do in your life. And then there just comes a moment where you're like, okay, I'm ready for something different. I'm ready to get married. I'm ready to have kids. I'm ready to whatever that is. And yeah, it was very easy for my mind to slip into what did I do? I'm being punished. I was like a young kid getting in trouble. But yeah, it's all, and it's not that particular way of thinking isn't going to serve you heading into. So obviously, if you know my daughter was going to go through that, I'd be like, hell no, don't think. That wasn't,
right.
yeah, it's not that you would ever go back and change anything because at those moments in time, like you said, there's a season for everything. You needed to go through that. And then everyone goes through those seasons at different times, those thought processes at different times. So yeah, it can be easy to blame ourselves, but it's not necessarily the thing that we should be doing, especially when we can't go back and change the past anyway. We can't go back and change anything that happened. We can
That's a
only look
fact.
forward and go, okay, so how do I do this moving forward? How do I make my life the way that I want it to look moving forward?
That's right. That's right. Manifestation is real.
Yeah, in every part of our life. And it is about looking at, and I loved the thing that you said too with your husband about witnessing the emotions, the thoughts that come up and having the space to do that because this is the thing we do need to allow ourselves to do in these moments that we're going through is when those emotions come up, those whatever it is, a belief or whatever, and we need to witness ourselves and that emotion and allow it to move through us and create the space for it because like you said also before if you don't allow it to come out in that moment it'll come out some other way, it'll manifest itself in another way and you won't be able to escape it, but if you allow it, and that in that moment to be witnessed, and just whether it is you turn to your partner and go, I just need a hug. I'm feeling this. I really wanted this to happen. I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated. Whatever it is, that's coming up, to be seen in that.
That's right. Because you have to be okay to be seen. And my heart goes out to some women that are like, okay, they're wanting that, but they don't have a safe space.
Mm.
If you don't have anyone that's like that, then create that for you. I think if I had been wanting, if I wanted to do, what is it? People that they go to the sperm bank and they're wanting to go that route, getting pregnant. I think I would personally probably, knowing me, I would probably just write about it. But you have the permission to make sure that you're getting some kind of support, some kind of way. I'm grateful that for me, support is literally in the bed with me. So I'm grateful for that. But if you don't have that, then make sure that you're making that environment for yourself. Be the change that you want to see. If you are wanting something, if you are like, man, I wish I had someone just to be there for me, then create a place for yourself, for you to be there for yourself, where you can maybe you can invite others, that you all can all be there for each other. You know what I'm saying? So you don't necessarily have to feel alone.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that's what we need to do when we're feeling those alone in those feelings, alone in those thoughts, and we start to look outside for the person that's going to give us that validation or give us what we need, to be that person for you first. Offer that to you first. Give yourself a hug. Wrap your arms over your
Yeah,
shoulders.
yeah. Or sometimes, hey, if that's a favorite meal, I know sometimes I was like, boy, when I used to be in college and I was not feeling too well, I would go, I don't suggest anyone do this, but I used to go to the store and get me a pop, and I would get me a little thing, a big thing of some chicken and a cheesecake, and I would take it back to my dorm and eat. That was my way, but we all have a favorite food. You know what I'm saying? I know sometimes with me, I love a good pizza. I'll be like, let me have a pizza. It always seems to sometimes to make me feel, it makes me feel a little bit better. But make sure you put those things around you that you love in your house, in your car, wherever you are, that you have something in there that you love, that you're like, yeah, I don't feel by myself when I'm around this. I love being in here. This is my office. This is also my creative room. I have my desk in here. I'm talking to you on here. I have my ring light, and I'm just like, I love this space because I just feel like when the doors close and my husband's watching football games or whatever, it's just everything I love is right in here.
Mm.
I created that space. Make sure you create yours.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love that. And to be honest, I think that's a beautiful way to like finish up the podcast. Otherwise, I could talk to you forever, unless there was anything else you feel like you needed to add before we do wrap up.
Hope is a beautiful thing. So I hope that you always have that. Always have hope. Because when you have it, anything is possible. And without it, boy, it makes even mundane tasks seem difficult
Mm.
and very difficult. So continue to have hope.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Renee, for being here and sharing so openly about your journey. Where can people find you if they want to open the conversation with you further, if something you've said today has really touched them?
I'm on all social media platforms at Queen Reliable Renee. I think I'm really thinking about starting, for my husband and I, starting our own YouTube channel, but until then, you can find me at Queen Reliable Renee. I'm on TikTok, I am on Instagram, as well as Facebook. So feel free to find me, and if you want to send me a message, please feel free to.
Yeah. I'll make sure that everything's linked in the show notes as well so that people can find you easily. But I really do appreciate you coming on. And like you said, the intention for you to come on today was to feel less alone and to also, by sharing your story, your voice, what you've been able to create is then in turn allowing other women to feel less alone in their journey as well. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to all that have listened in. If this episode was valuable to you, I invite you to leave a review on Apple Podcast, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode. Thank you for listening in with me today. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you did, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it to social media, and tag me at Institute of Healing_PL. I love seeing what is resonating with you right now. If you want to chat further, I invite you to connect with me through Instagram. Head over and follow my Instagram account, send me a DM, and let's open the communication. If you want to know more about how you can be the support for others, head to the show notes and fill out the application form for the Pregnancy Loss Practitioner certification. I want to also note here that what I share within the episodes is not medical advice. If you need further support, please consult your doctor. Thank you again. Much love to you. Be gentle with yourself, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode.